Well, there you all are. Well, it's so good to see all you folks again here on the six screens. My name's Rick Farrer, and I'm up here in Boston. And we have got a program tonight that you're really going to enjoy. Now, folks, if you're just listening in, I see a lot of new people coming in here tonight. If you're just listening in and you're a Jehovah's Witness that is exiting the Watchtower, by all means, listening to this program. Don't run away. We're not a bunch of mad, irate apostates. We're not here to hurt you. We're here to help you. I was a witness for 50 years of my life. My wife here has been a witness for 30 years of her life. And we got a lot of people coming on tonight. You'll be hearing their stories. So don't head for the mountains. Stay with us tonight. Now, we have a lady. She's a former Jehovah's Witness. Her name is Anne Marie. She's out of California. And she has a program called Touched by the Tentacles of the Watchtower. Now, many people have been hurt by the Watchtower organization, and many people have been hurt by the Watchtower organization. And I want you to know that maybe you're one of those people. Maybe you're being shunned. Maybe you're being ostracized from people in your family who are witnesses, or maybe even friends of yours that no longer talk with you. So by all means, listen to Anne Marie. And if you can, you'll see the number scrolling across YouTube and Facebook. Well, give it a shot. Call the number up. Talk to Anne Marie. She'd love to hear from you. So let's bring Anne Marie in right now. Hello, Anne Marie.
Hello, my brother Rick. How are you? Happy Six Screen Saturday.
Well, thank you. Well, I'll tell you, it is a happy Six Screen Saturday. I'm going to tell you, Anne Marie, I am really getting, well, I'm not going to get into that adrenaline rush tonight, but it's coming back. It's coming back. I'm getting a really good feeling lately. We are really seeing, we we are
I'm
seeing,
sorry, what was that?
we are really seeing the Watchtower in full time free fall. We are noticing an
Oh,
organization.
no doubt.
Oh yeah, no. In fact, I'm going to do my news tonight after this program. Anne Marie, in Europe, they are tanking. I thought they were doing bad here, but in Europe, it's like unbelievable. And I got some reports. First convention reports I've got tonight. I want to talk about that. But the attendance, well, the attendance is down. But let me tell you something. The baptisms are tanking. No, nobody's getting baptized anymore. And you don't blame them, do you, Anne Marie? Well, I'll tell you, no,
I'm sorry.
that's okay.
I'm sorry.
That's all right, Anne Marie.
What did you say, my brother?
I said that the baptisms at these conventions are really people aren't getting
Oh,
baptized.
God, yeah.
I can
Well, they
remember.
probably ran out of. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Well, they probably ran out of little kids to, shovel into baptism.
Well, that's one of the reasons. But also, Anne Marie, I'll tell you. Now, you go back when I go back. I go back, going to conventions back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, even early 2000s. And, I can remember back in the 80s specifically, the conventions would be big. I mean, super big. Veterans Stadium, Fenway Park, New York Yankee Stadium. They were big, 50, 60, 70, 80,000 people. And there would be sometimes 2,000, 3,000 people getting baptized. I can remember that. Well, wait till you hear on the news tonight. You're going to hear the numbers. If I was a governing body member right now, I'd be running for the mountains. I really would. But we'll be talking about that. So, anything on your mind tonight? I know you got a lot of things going on, but anything you want to speak about in particular, Anne Marie?
Well, I don't know if it's appropriate, but I have referred many times to the henchmen of Rutherford being sent into Germany to try different methods of mind control on the German brothers and sisters in Germany. And he wrote a book later about it. His name was William J. Chanel, and it's called 30 Years a Watchtower Slave. And it was because of the experiment and everything he learned that worked, that didn't work, that he brought back to Rutherford. And Rutherford wanted complete control over every single congregation, who at the time, every congregation in the Watchtower was actually run by a Christian pastor. And they basically ran it like any other church. The pastor oversees his church like a family, like a father oversees his family. Well, Rutherford wanted complete control. And over time, it seems like more and more our Watchtower organization has become more like communism, more like the Third Reich. And so I was just thinking, I wonder what commonalities that there are between the Watchtower is and how communism is. That's what I wanted to talk about.
Well, I think that's a good topic, and I know we have a man online with us tonight that he wrote a book very much about that. So he's listening in tonight. I can see him on here with us, so he'll be able to help you with that. Well, that's good, Anne-Marie. So what I'll do is I'll cut you loose, but if you need me and Susan, we'll be here, and we'll fill in for you if you do have an issue. So by all means, let us know. And by the way, we got an unusual amount of traffic coming in here tonight. I'm looking at YouTube and Facebook in our radio network. It looks good, Anne Marie. So hopefully we might be able to get some new callers calling in as well. So I'm here if you need me.
Well, Rick, you know I always appreciate your being there and you and Susan being there. This is a difficult time.
Well, you go ahead and do the
Thank
program. But
you.
you let the audience know, Anne Marie. They'd like to get a little understanding of how dedicated you are. You let the audience know what's going on with you tonight, okay?
Oh, well, thank you. I want to welcome everyone in. Today is June 27th, 2026. It is also my fourth baby's 51st birthday, she reminded me. And that makes me real happy, but it does make me happy that she's here with me. I'm in Walnut Creek with my dying grandmother, and we're kind of having a hard time, but I wanted to do the show if I could. And, you know, I listened to so many videos and, you know, there's so much going on. Even Fran and Joe did a really great video on the plight of the PIMQs, those who are physically in Watchtower, but who are mentally questioning, and they're so torn, they're so stressed, they have so much anxiety because they're not fully in like PMEs, and they're not fully mentally out like PMOs. So they did a great video called something about PIMQs. They did it on the 24th. And I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for all the Lord's blessings. So I want to welcome everyone in my Six Screens family and those first-time listeners. Before I forget, if you call in and you're a first-time listener, just go ahead and jump in and say, you know, I'm a first-time caller. I'd like to comment. Let me have your name. You don't have to give your first name. We never request your first name. You know, you can call yourself Lucille or Bird Dog or Mr. Magoo or whatever feels right for you, because this is a safe place where you can say anything you want, express any concerns, ask any questions, make any comment. I want to welcome all who are listening today now and later in the YouTube archives, which I'm so grateful for. I listen to them every day. Today, I kind of wanted to talk about in how many ways Watchtower has turned into, it represents to me so many commonalities with communism, with the way it was during the Third Reich. And we do remember that, hopefully you remember, I have brought up many times the book 30 Years, A Watchtower Slave, published in the 50s, that Rutherford's lead henchman, William J. Schnell, he had written it after he basically got his eyes open and he wrote about what was really going on and what had been going on. Rutherford had sent William J. Schnell into Germany to practice on the compliant, loving, obedient, very easygoing German brothers and sisters in Germany, to try to work with them to see what different mind control tactics worked and what tactics didn't work. And he did say in his book that he could see he was causing them a lot of trauma, had a lot of emotional turmoil and grief and stress, and he felt bad about it later. But he did bring his findings back to Rutherford, and Rutherford implemented all of the control from the top down. You see, back in Rutherford's day, every congregation, just like any other congregation of any other Christian church, was run by the head pastor. The head pastor is like the father of a home. You know, it's his responsibility to make sure everything's okay, everything's running smoothly. If there are any problems, they come together as a family. What can we do about this? And all of the pastors, all of the head of the Christian congregations in early Watchtower were run by Christian pastors. Well, Rutherford wanted to get rid of all that. And so slowly he got rid of all of the Christian pastors. He caused a lot of upheaval because he wanted control, absolutely control from top down to all congregations. And you guys know, if you can look back the way Watchtower is, it has become true. And it just made me think of, you know, it's all about loyalty to the party, just like in the days of Gestapo. But other people have brought in on the show that they're just like communism. Now, I haven't had time to sit down and do the research because I'm going through this thing with my mother-in-law dying. She's not my grandmother, but she's my grandmother to my children. But I love her very much, and she is in the process of going. So I just had to get here to Walnut Creek to be with her. So I'm so sorry I didn't have time to do the research, but I'm sure if you guys can help me out, there are a lot of commonalities. If anybody would like to come in, I want you to feel free to comment, or if you have a thought about it or any other thought.
This is Donald from Texas.
Hi, Donald.
Sorry about your children's grandmother there. Yeah, kind of sounds like what I went through with my mom back in 24. But yeah, you know, Rutherford wanting full control. Not only does that sound like communism, but it sounds like the Antichrist, because just as the Antichrist is in the Bible, you know, he will have full control over everybody and everything. And Rutherford is in that respect. He wants what the devil wants. He was following the devil. You know, that's what he was.
Oh, no doubt. It's really scary how it's really worked out over the years, because if you go back under Russell and even in the early days of Rutherford, before he was able to gain complete control, you know, all of the brothers were running their own congregations with love, with Christian love, and they were all Christians, and he wanted to get rid of everything Christian, and it has evolved down through the years. It's not a pretty sight.
And not only that, though, but if you want to compare this to, I don't know much about the Third Reich itself, because I'm not really a historian. I don't study history all that much, but it is interesting. But if I remember right, Germany, or Hitler, wanted to make a perfect race of humans. He wanted to get rid of the Jews. He wanted to make this so-called perfect blonde-haired, blue-eyed, I think if I got it right, perfect race of people, and that was his goal, to do that. And Watchtower is kind of doing that in a way, not so much killing people, but their whole regime, the whole Watchtower regime is based on total control, total isolation from everybody else. And even on their paradise Earth, from what I've heard, that even when their paradise supposedly comes, you're not going to have freedom to live where you want to live. They will tell you where you can live. So it ain't like you're going to go pick your own house and live in it. Nope. It'll be run by a human government on the earth that's going to have total and utter complete control over everything. So it'll be basically the Jehovah's Witnesses paradise will be Hitler's dream come true.
That is a very well stated point.
No
Absolutely.
Freedom.
No freedom.
None
At least in this old world, You know, even if you're in the Watchtower, if you have your own place to live, you can get away from the propaganda and the lies and the confusion and the anxiety, and maybe relax in your own home a little bit, or go for a walk and have some time to yourself, or take your kids camping or to some kind of amusement park, something. But in the new order, if you listen closely to everything the elders say, everything the governing body says, you know, they're going to be ruling. And one brother even said that they're going to be controlling the weather.
Oh, no, I don't think so.
Neither do I.
Whoever that elder was, he must have been listening to Kenneth Copeland.
Who knows? Who knows? It's just a scary thought. Yes.
His wife, Kenneth Copeland's wife, actually said on a video one time, she said, "You can control the weather," and all this stuff. She was talking about it. And I thought, yeah, right. Why are there still hurricanes and earthquakes and fires? And I think I'll run away from you, ma'am. That's what I thought.
Very much so. And I'm thinking right now, and I hope you can think of things, and other callers might be thinking of ways that the way the Watchtower has become, in many ways, they have similarities to communism and the way it was in the Third Reich. Yes, they killed a lot of people, but I'm thinking of how, go ahead.
Look at what they do right now, okay? You can't date freely. You have to be chaperoned. You can't read other literature other than Watchtower literature. You can't, in other words, you can't research your religion unless you research it through what they call research, through their own stuff. You're not allowed to be friends with other people outside of the religion. So already they're being controlled by it's communism all the way through, because if they really serve Christ, then Christ does not offer bondage, and this whole religion is nothing but bondage. Is what it is.
Yeah, all offer that Christ gave us, the offer was to treat others the way we want to be treated, love one another as he loved us. He wanted us to come to him and walk with him and follow him. And everything about freedom all seems to be tied with Christ, from what I've seen in the scriptures, even in the New World Translation. So what the Watchtower has been doing and getting more and more controlling, legalistic, especially when they said that if we get any kind of instructions, even if they don't make sense from a human standpoint, we have to follow them, even if it, you know, seems dangerous or crazy, and it could mean your life. I mean, how is that Jesus?
Well, didn't Rutherford write letters to Hitler even? I mean, did he, if I remember right, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm not, but if I remember right, didn't
Hold on, brother. Go ahead, finish your thought, and there's a brother wanting to talk.
Okay, yeah, didn't Rutherford write letters to Hitler and stuff?
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. And he got very upset when Hitler did not respond, and that's when he started the German brothers and their campaign to start marching and protesting against the Third Reich, and you know what happened after that. Can we let the other brother come in?
Yes.
Brother, are you there?
Yes, this is Anne-Marie. This is Joe from South Carolina.
Hey, Joe.
Hi. First of all, prayers for your family.
Thank you.
My comment centers around, I believe it was it 2007, 2008, when the Watchtower said that apostates were mentally diseased apostates. Now, you would think that normal people in the Watchtower organization would have been appalled by that, by the Watchtower using the term mentally diseased apostates. And that makes me think of the Third Reich. How did Hitler and his propagandists, the men that followed him, how did they get decent people to hate the Jews? Well, they started off by saying the Jews were thieves. They caused the end of the First World War for Germany. That's how they lost the war. But then they started using anti-Semitic comments. Well, what's the difference between that and the Watchtower saying mentally diseased apostates? It puts you in a box. And that's what Hitler did with the Jews. And we know so many poor souls suffered over that. And in the Watchtower, a lot of people suffer. Thank you, Maria, and prayers are with your family.
Oh, thank you so, so much, my brother Joe. I love your comments. Are you with Constance and Dick now?
Certainly, yeah. And I got the phone right now. I'm on that.
Would they like to chime in?
Yeah, I certainly would. I just want to piggyback on what Joe was saying here. You know, the Nazi regime and their propagandists made the German people believe that Germany lost World War I because the Jews turned around and they sabotaged the country, which was absolutely crazy and untrue. But the German people, by and large, believed that. And what the Watchtower is doing today is trying to tell people that if you're apostate, you're mentally diseased. Also, if you are disfellowshipped, you are an enemy of God. And the Watchtower has put in print that if the state of the country would allow, they would stone or murder or execute anyone who was disfellowshipped. They are producing hate amongst the Jehovah's Witness people, disfellowship people, or anybody that's even questioning the Watchtower. They talk about if you don't go out and field service on a Saturday morning, it used to be you could be blood guilty. Now, today, it's you are blood guilty. They want you every second of your free time knocking on doors. Now, that has subsided a bit in the last few years because of their low numbers, and they're changing their you must report your time stuff. But that's how they do it. They create a hatred. They tell you, if you're an enemy of Jehovah, Jehovah hates you. They're telling you also that Jehovah God only hears the prayers of the righteous and not the righteous and not the unrighteous or the sinners. So if you want to give us assistance and you want help with a spiritual problem, you must go to the elders, which is nuts because the elders in a lot of congregations are the ones hiding pedophilia. But anyway, the Watchtower is trying to trick people's minds. And you know what? It worked in the 70s and 80s, some part of the 90s. People are getting wise to them. All these wonderful channels on YouTube, 6 Screens, all these programs are awakening people up to the tricks that they are using. And that's pretty much all I just wanted to say. But it is a cult. And if you go on, say, Watchtower Examiner or any of those channels, you'll understand the psychology of how these people pull this lying off and make people hate. I wouldn't venture to say that if they disfellowship somebody, they can get brothers to kidnap that person, dig a hole, throw that person in the hole, and stone them to death. If the Watchtower said that was appropriate and that would please Jehovah, they would do it. The same way that Hitler said, you grab these Jews, hardworking people, out of their house, break up their families, and send them off to Auschwitz or any of these concentration camps. You really, really should do your deep research into what Jehovah's Witnesses stand for. The rank and file are pretty decent people, but at the top, just like when they had Hitler and Mussolini and all these people, they are really deeply under the influence of Satan, the devil. And by the way, Anne-Marie, I want to send our sentiments from me and Connie to you for this as well. situation your grandmother's in. So tell her we send our love, and I'll say God bless and talk to you soon.
Oh, thank you so much. My mother-in-law she always tells everybody she helped raise me because she took me in after my mom threw me out of the house when I was 15. And she's always been nothing but loving and kind and supportive. And she's just that mother-in-law that everybody wishes they had. And so it's really hard to see her going through this, but it's part of life, and we trust in the Lord to just be there and love her. But as far as the Gestapo, the things that stand out to me was how they just took over. I think I've mentioned many times that in about 2001, 2003, I met a really old woman who was in her 90s, and she said she had grown up in Germany and that she remembered how happy the German people were, happy families, happy marriages, happy communities. All the neighbors were considered, to be each other's family. Everybody helped each other, shared with each other, laughed with each other. And she said when the Third Reich took over, it was like everything was about loyalty to the party, which to me is the organization, same thing. It's all about what you say, how you say it, what was your intonation, what was your expression, what was your language, because everybody now became spies upon one another, searching for any kind of sign of disloyalty, reporting on each other. So she said, this old woman told me that it became a scary thing where you couldn't trust your best friends anymore. You couldn't trust your neighbors anymore, and they knew they couldn't trust you. Everybody tried to act normal. And she said, but even in your own home, especially the children, because Hitler really put a lot of stuff on the children. If you want to be loyal to the party, pay attention to your parents and your grandparents, because a lot of grandparents lived in the family home. And they were reporting on their grandparents, their children. Some parents reported on their children. It was a horrible, horrible thing. But what she was saying to me, she started to cry. She said, we finally escaped Germany. We came to America hoping for a better life. And then the Jehovah's Witnesses came, I think when she was in her young 20s or so when she escaped Germany. And she said she grabbed hold of the Watchtower organization. It's the truth, God's organization. You're going to have happiness and love and butterflies and rainbows, and you're going to have this beautiful paradise. And she said, but the longer she stayed in, and then she got tears in her eyes, she said, I realized that the Watchtower had become just what I had left in Germany. It's the same thing, the spying on one another, the backbiting. You never know what anybody's saying behind your back. Always worried you're going to get in trouble, always being threatened. That's a terrible thing. And in communism, it's the same thing. I need to ask, is there anybody waiting to call in? I want everybody who wants to talk to know that they can jump in and say, hey, I'd like to comment. Give us a name, any name you prefer. Anybody like to speak?
I'd be happy to share right there.
Is this valid?
It is. And I want to tell you, I'm sorry to hear about your mother-in-law.
That's all.
Thank you, Dallas.
At last, well, as you were brought out, you were saying something about certain ones. I consider that cult to be more like the Taliban of Afghanistan.
Yeah, them too. Not as violent.
They're worse than the Gestapo had ever been.
Exactly.
It's a police state.
No doubt. And I'm sure if Watchtower could, they'd make it a police state, because all they seem to care about is absolute control. Go ahead.
I think I think they would tell them to do forced arranged marriages where they don't get to choose their husband, and even honor killings where they kill their own family members that shame their honor in the community.
Right, but this doesn't have, thank God, anything to do with the way Watchtower is so indicative or so similar to how the Third Reich was run and how communism is run. Everybody's expected to think the same, believe the same, talk the same, and bottom line, it's always about loyalty to the party, no matter what that party is. And in the Watchtower, that's why I call the elders like the Gestapo enforcers, because that's what their job is. They are expected by Watchtower to enforce and to control and to threaten and to punish. And it is a very, very sad, sick thing. And if this is really God's organization, we would think that his spirit would be with them, because this is not what Jesus died for. And I found a scripture in the New World Translation at 2 Corinthians 3:17, where it says, now Jehovah is the Spirit, and where the Spirit of Jehovah is, there is freedom. So the very fact that there is literally no freedom in any way in Watchtower, to me, that scripture is saying there is no Jehovah's Spirit in that congregation, in the organization. And it would make sense that God's Spirit would be with the organization. Go ahead.
Absolutely not. He's the very God that they claim. He's the very one that's bringing retribution on that organization.
Well, they don't want you to not believe them or obey them, because how they get away with it is they always say, obey Jehovah and his organization. You know, everything's about Jehovah and his organization. So the organization is always connected to Jehovah, so that anytime you're not obeying the organization, being loyal to the organization, respecting the organization, promoting the organization, defending the organization, then you're not being faithful to Jehovah, because that's his organization. And they make sure that with every chance they get to say it, that's what they're saying. They can't separate Jehovah, our Heavenly Father, from the organization, from obedience to the organization. And they use that, and that's part of the mind programming.
But I'd like to know, it's sad, and I can tell you that it ain't run by, I can tell you that organization is controlled and operated by Satan, the devil, the father of the lie.
Well, I believe that. Was there another brother? Thank you so much, Dallas. Brother, were you trying to speak?
Yeah, along with Dallas's comment, there is another similarity.
Who's this?
This is Joe from South Carolina.
Oh, hi, Joe. Go ahead.
Well, hi there, Joe.
Hi, Dallas. Nice to see you. Hear you.
Hi, Joe. What?
So along with your comment, Dallas, there's another similarity. You know, the Watchtower loves to mark. They love to mark apostates, but they also mark people that they deem unworthy of being in the congregation. And I had the opportunity when I was in Washington, D.C. to go to the Holocaust Museum, and we know they marked the Jews with the Star of David. They marked the Polish people, any Russians, and they also unfortunately marked rank and file Jehovah's Witnesses with a marking. That would be I think it's an upside purple triangle. Yeah. But anyway, isn't it interesting that Hitler used a marking to establish that they were, in the Nazis' eyes, worthy of death? Well, the Watchtower does the same thing. They mark, but their marking is by announcements, humiliation, and that's all I wanted to say. I thought that's a similarity, and it ties in with Dallas's great comment. Thank you.
Oh, no, that's a great comment, and that's just part of the mind control. If somebody hears from the podium that somebody's been reproved or marked, and they are automatically to shun. Go ahead, Dallas.
I think we need to start calling it a witch tower, because actually the organization is called Jehovah Wickedness, or Satan's Witnesses, or Satan Wickedness.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
Now, what I would like to know, where in the Bible does it say that Jehovah even has an organization? Because they say that there's two organizations. There's God's earthly organization and then a heavenly one. Well, I don't know scripture that says there is even a heavenly organization at all.
No, I don't think it does. Is this Donald?
Yeah, this is Donald. Yeah.
All right.
I just wanted to be sure.
And also, I got a
Well, hi there, Donald.
Yeah, hey, how are you? I got a question. I've been putting together a lot of anti-Jehovah's Witness music done by AI, and I'd like to send it. Oh yeah, I got tons of it that I've done.
Who's this speaking? Who's this speaking, please?
This is Donald.
Oh.
I was wondering if I could send you some of the music I've done for, the anti-JW music that I put together, because I put together quite a bit of it. And if you can send me, I'll give you my email address. And if you send me an email, I'll send it to you. It's D as in dog, B as in boy, RWN @AOL.com. And I'll send you the link to download a ton of it.
Okay, got it down.
Yep.
Dog, brown, wall, river, water, Nancy @AOL.com for the music.
Yeah, DBRWN @AOL.com. Yep.
That's what I got.
Well,
thank you. What's that?
Yep.
And you will love it. And please spread it around, because as many people that can hear that music, that'll help them get out of their religion.
Oh, that would be a great idea. Is there anyone waiting to talk? Any new callers? If there are any new, one moment, any new callers who are thinking of calling in, I want you to feel free and comfortable. Use any name you like. Just pop in and say, I'm a new caller. I'd like to comment, and we will be listening. Go ahead, my brother.
Thank you, Anne Marie. I just had a thought that I think is really remarkable, since we're talking about the Third Reich and the evaluation between Hitler and Rutherford and people like that. It's remarkable. They took decent people. Germany was basically a Catholic and Protestant, basically Catholic country. And they took these decent people that grew up in good homes, and they prayed and over their meals and stuff like that. And they tricked them into joining the Third Reich, the Nazi movement, saying how wonderful it was going to be a Nazi in Germany in the late 30s. And so many people, good people, signed up for it. And sometimes they got assignments to Auschwitz and places like that, horrible places of torture and depravity. It's just those concentration camps were horrible. My point would be that they took these decent people and then made them prison guards, and they weren't there a week or two. And they were torturing prisoners too, throwing the gas chambers, starving them to death, beating them, doing experiments without any Novocaines or anything, like taking the gold right out of their teeth, no Novocaine, anything like that. It's just remarkable when you're inside of a system like the Watchtower, where you're going to turn around and you're going to squeal you're gonna be watching people to see if they do something that the Watchtower doesn't approve of. So you can go to the elders and say, I'm super righteous. I'm more righteous than brother so-and-so that I saw him coming out of a movie theater, and the movie that he was watching was an R-rated movie. Disfellowship that brother, humiliate him, to do it in front of his children, do it in front of everybody. And that is supposed to make people, it's supposed to make the congregation clean. All the while, they're hiding 5 or 6 pedophiles in their congregation that the elders know about. This organization, the Watchtower Tract Society, and the, I guess it's 10 or 11 now, governing body members, is sick. And I would say this is my strong opinion that every one of those governing body members are professional liars and they're demon inspired. That's my little tidbit. Oh, by the way, what you're talking about tonight, that was supposed to be my program for next Saturday night that I was working on. So you stole my thunder, Emery.
No, I'm not going to steal your thunder. I'm going to be listening in to yours and Constance's show, because Constance is a master researcher, and she brings out, and along with you, really great points. There's no way I'm stealing your thunder, honey. You just keep the storm of going.
Hey, Marie, this is Rick.
Yes, sir.
Well, anyways, I hear Dick on there, and when he's talking about Jehovah's Witnesses in the Third Reich, it reminds me of a trip that Dick and I made to Bethel back in 2014. We went to the world headquarters right there, 25 Columbia Heights, Brooklyn, New York. And of course, Dick was with me, and we went into the building, and there's a museum. At least it was. It's not there now. The building's been sold, as we know. But there was a museum, and it had all the old Watchtower historical thoughts that were put into like a little scene. And there was a scene or some paraphernalia they had, some memorabilia of the Purple Triangle with the Watchtower organization and the witnesses going to prison in the German concentration camps. So Dick, they had a little prison prop there, and you could get in prison. So Dick, got in a little prison with the bars behind him. And all of a sudden, I saw him looking really sick. He started really looking like he was going to faint. And I says, "Are you all right, Dick?" And Dick says, "I got to get out of here. I can't take this anymore." So I walked him into the lobby, and he kind of recuperated a little bit. But he says, "Rick, I just can't stand this. This is just making me sick, seeing all this propaganda, all the false lies the Watchtower tells in these little museum settings they have." But where Dick was talking about the Third Reich tonight, and you were talking about it, there's a lot of misinformation there, Anne Marie, a lot. And years ago, we had James Penton, Dr. James Penton. He is a former Jehovah's Witness, and he actually wrote the book, The Jehovah's Witnesses and the Third Reich. And he spilled the beans. He gave the real truth about the Third Reich. Of course, they were trying, the Jehovah's Witness organization, Watchtower, they tried to make it seem like, oh, the poor Jehovah's Witnesses were being persecuted. Well, they never would have been persecuted, according to James Penton's book, Jehovah's Witnesses and the Third Reich, if Rutherford didn't stick his big nose into the business that was going on in Germany. I'm not going to get too deep in the weeds here, but just to clarify, new ones listening in, Jehovah's Witnesses, the second largest Bethel complex in the world was in Germany, Magdeburg, Germany. And of course, the United States was the biggest country for Jehovah's Witnesses, but Germany was second. So Rutherford was deathly afraid that Hitler was going to seize the Watchtower property, Magdeburg, Germany, and take it away from them. So Rutherford tried to cozy up to Adolf Hitler. Yes, he did. He wrote him letters, and how that he even in these letters supported It came out as a support for Hitler, hoping that Hitler would back off and leave the witnesses alone. But Hitler, he was no dummy. I mean, let's face it, he became the head of Germany. He thought and could see through Rutherford's plea, and he turned on Rutherford. He really did. He said, well, he thought Rutherford was, it was a joke. Well, what are you trying to do here to me? I mean, Hitler was a strong guy, folks. Let's remember. So Hitler saw how foolish and how Rutherford was trying to cozy up to him that he did just the opposite. He took those prisoners in and put those witnesses in Germany in a concentration camp. And the book is really good. James Penton came on, talked about it, and there's more to the story. The Watchtower has a whitewashed history book called the Proclaimer's Book. And that book is so false, but of course only Jehovah's Witnesses read it, so they suck it up and believe it. But I can still remember the look on Dick's face and how he looked like he was going to faint, and walk him out into the hallway where he said, I'm okay now. Want to share that with you, Anne-Marie?
Yeah, and just to further along any PMQs, Jehovah's Witnesses who might be listening in, mentally questioning, they might think, oh, that's just apostate lies. But I remember a brother from the podium, I think it was on JW Broadcast or maybe Morning Worship, and they were talking about one of the apostate lies that Rutherford had supported Hitler during the Second World War, and that was all a lie that the apostates made up. Well, if anybody can get hold of the 1934 yearbook, very hard to get a hold of, but it's all documented in there. They were actually proud that Rutherford was trying to talk to Hitler, because he was telling Hitler, hey, we're on your side. We agree with what you're doing, just a bunch of garbage. And yet a man who's supposed to represent Jehovah God and the truth got up there and lied. And any lies that they don't want to acknowledge that they have actually done, it's so convenient to blame it on those wicked apostates for telling the truth. Anybody else like to? Yes, who's it?
Hi, honey, it's Constance. How are you, Anne-Marie?
I'm well. How are you?
Good, honey. I'm fine, thank you. I'm really enjoying your show. And I am, honey. I was just going to say that, in reference to what Rick was saying with regards to Rutherford, butting up to him and so forth, isn't it something? A Christian's supposed to be somebody who imitates Christ and loves Christ and what his life was all about. And yet you find, with regards to Rutherford, first of all, two thoughts I'd like to share, Anne-Marie, is number one, all Rutherford was concerned was, once again, just the property, which meant the money that Watchtower had back there in Germany. Nothing's changed with Watchtower today. They even have, they're wealthier now than they were back then. So that hasn't changed. And number two, how can you call yourself a Christian, and this is a Christian organization, so-called, the Jehovah's Witnesses, when you have the leader who is supportive of Hitler, who hates Jews? I mean, last I knew, Jesus was a Jew, right? Jesus was a Jew, and everything that we learned in God's Word is inspired by God, but he used Jewish people. So you have Rutherford, who claims to be Christian, but then yet he was supportive of Adolf Hitler, who hated Jews. So, and Rich wants to say something, honey.
Yeah, Emery, one of the big red flags for the Nazis in the late 30s is Rutherford was calling the Watchtower Zion's Watchtower. There's no other word that says Jew as loud as Zion. So once they saw these Jehovah's Witnesses did the same as the Jews that we hate. So that's what caused them to go to the concentration camps, was the Watchtower with the word Zion on it. And you think Rutherford would have known that, but he didn't care. He just gave up the property. Thank you.
Hello?
Go ahead. You're on with us. Is that you, Hidley?
Yes, this is me. Hi.
Hi,
Hi,
Hidley.
Marie. Hi, everyone.
I guess Anne Marie had to take off a little bit, but I'm here, Hidley. With you. What do you want to say?
Yeah, I wanted to say that I agree with what everyone is saying. It also reminded me of when I was told, and I found this out from may he rest in peace. Oh my goodness, I forgot his name. That was what they call him, Dog Patch. From
Randy Waters. Randy Waters.
Randy Walters, that he had revealed, I think, on a couple of videos, and when he was on Six Screens many years ago, before he got really sick, that the Watchtower, when they used to have the factories over in Brooklyn, which is now the Dumbo area, down under the Manhattan bridge overpass, that the printers, the MAN printers, MAN printers, were made by the same people over in Germany who manufactured the they was ovens or something like that they used to exterminate the Jewish prisoners. And I thought that was really, really strange. That I said, well, if Watchtower is supposed to be, Christians, they say that they serve Jehovah. They also advocate Jesus as their king, reigning king and redeemer, and so on, and savior. And and Jesus is a Jew, just like everyone pointed out, and what we learned. But also the Watchtower takes, and this is, I think they had those printers since Rutherford, that they had them put, a whole bunch of them. Maybe no doubt contracted with the company that dealt with that, and they used that to print out, the Watchtower and Awake magazines and all the other literature. The same company, MAN, M-A-N, that constructed the ovens and other torture devices and what have you to, during the Holocaust. So that, all this information about Rutherford and Hitler, that brought a lot to mind what Randy Walters brought out. And thank you, Rick, for helping me to remember it was Randy Walters, because they called him Dog Patch. That was his nickname. May he rest in peace. So,
Well,
that's all I wanted to say.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Hidley, and thank you, too, for sending me the news. We're going to discuss a little bit of that later on JW World News. Go ahead. You're on with us, sir.
Hey, Rick, this is Gilbert. Hey, you started out the show talking about the communism, right? And how the similarities with Watchtower. And, my brother Jesse and I, that's all we talk about, and I'm sure you know. But here's the thing, Rick. The one thing that's very interesting, do you remember when we used to go to the Kingdom Hall and they would tell us Jehovah's Witnesses do not have a creed? Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and that's exactly the problem. Let me help you understand. Every American who loves America will live and die by the words, we perceive these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, endowed by the Creator with certain unalienable rights. Among these, life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Also, every American will live and die. He will die to protect the freedom of speech, the right to assemble, the right to petition your government, and the freedom of the press. See, so these are creeds that humans live by. So the reason the Watchtower is a satanic, demonic, communist type organization is, see, they don't live for anything. They're the modern day communists today. They use the phrase, and you hear it all the time. They go, the Constitution is a living, breathing document. See, that's a lie. That's just nice, pretty words to say we want to change the Constitution. But a Christian knows, no. Jesus said, thou stop judging. We're not going to change that. Matthew 7:1, stop judging. Jesus is not the words of Jesus are not a living document that can be altered. We that live by creeds know that what Jesus said in Matthew 7:1 is for time indefinite and shall never be infringed upon and shall never be changed. Therefore, we shall never shun our family members because Jesus said, stop judging. And with the measure that you measure your brother, you'll be measured. So you see, and this is why, like when I talk to Jesse, I always use that quote from Top Gun. When the captain goes to Tom Cruise and he goes, that was some of the best flying I have ever seen in my life, up until the moment you got killed. You never, ever leave your wingman. And that's what it is. Jehovah's Witnesses have left Jesus Christ. He's not the wingman because they're always replacing God. They're always replacing Jesus. And they replace Jesus with Matthew 24:45, with the faithful, discreet slave. You see, they're always changing the Bible to leave the wingman, Jesus Christ. And this is how the communists work. Let me give you another example of how the communists work. It's real simple. By the name of Walt Disney. I know that Walt Disney loved children. But what did Walt Disney do? He says, well, and what did the devils do? He says, well, I'm just going to wait for Walt Disney to die. And sure enough, when Walt Disney died, little by little by little, you started seeing the movies change. And now people complain about all of the bad things that they see in the movies, in the Walt Disney movies. Well, that's how communism works. Because you don't have a set of a rock, because Jesus is the rock. You don't have a creed. You have the Jehovah's Witnesses and any organizations just like that they're always changing. And they say change is good. No, change is not good. We perceive these things to be self-evident. We will never change those words. All men are created equal. No, we will die. We will kill and die in a war to defend those words. And that's and because Watchtower doesn't create men that are fighting men, they say, well, let's disfellowship our children. The governing bodies deems it proper because we've abandoned Jesus. Does that make any sense, Rick?
Oh, yes, it does. Yes, it does. I mean, I know you and Gilbert, get into communism quite extensively. And you guys, you put together information that is not really, talked about for the most part by other ex-witnesses. So you guys get into some heavy-duty conversations about this, but you can see a direct correlation, yes.
Yeah, and the last thing I was going to say is that the thing with communism and the teachings of Jesus and everything is that in the Constitution, the reason we have these problems is because the United States Constitution that we disobey all the time in America, we have all of the problems that we have in America are attributed because we left the Constitution. But the point is, all the problems that we have in our life is because we left Jesus Christ. So you see, the Constitution, the words of Jesus, and many other things, they're like chains that chain a human being. Because we as human beings know we're sinful. So because you, Rick Farron, you know that you're a sinful man, you embrace Jesus because Jesus keeps you close. He's like, hey, Rick, tone it down, come back. See, he's a chain on you, a good loving, like he puts restraints on you, not because he doesn't love you, but you recognize that. But lawless people, men of lawlessness, they hate the restraint. I want to be free. And what do? They hurt themselves with they hurt themselves, with all their different sins. So the Constitution or the creed or Jesus or other things, right? We recognize and we limit ourselves. And the Jehovah's Witnesses don't limit themselves. They've given full reign to the governing body to do whatever they want, whenever they want. That's all I have to say, Rick.
Wow, you said a mouthful. Thank you very much, Gilbert. Well, anyways, I'm kind of sitting in here for Anne-Marie. Anne-Marie, you back down? Well, maybe not. Maybe not.
Oh
Well,
my God. Sorry.
that's all right. Just don't worry about it. That's good.
I keep forgetting to unmute. So that was Gilbert speaking.
Yes.
Who was the sister that called in before Gilbert? Do you know, Rick?
That was Hiddley. She's out of New York. Yeah.
Oh, I love her. I missed her so much. Thank you.
Well, she's a wonderful
Oh
woman.
my God, I am sorry. Yes, she is.
You're welcome, Anne-Marie. You're welcome.
Oh, I
and
miss
and, and,
you.
and,
I
and my
love
prayers
you.
for your family.
Oh, bless your heart. Well, right now, my son, my Jehovah's Witness son and Jehovah's Witness daughter-in-law just passed by and, of course, won't acknowledge me. So I'm glad I'm out here. But thank you. Everything is as it should be. I just want to make sure, is there anyone, especially a new caller, who is wanting to maybe chime in, have a comment, use any name you want? This is a safe place. No one will find out. So just want to make sure that any new caller knows that they are safe. Just jump in and say, hey, I'm a new caller. I'd like to comment or ask a question. I just want to keep putting it out there. And again, I am so sorry. I was on mute all this time. I didn't know. Any other comments? I'm not muted. Well, I was thinking about communism, and, you know, I've watched movies based on communism. It's all comrade this and comrade that, and there's so much horrible things happening. Everybody's living in fear. And I'm thinking of Hitler and others that start cults like Jim Jones and others. They always start out so sensible, and they're so manipulative, so smoothly manipulative with their propaganda, and you get people agreeing, and oh, that makes sense, and no wonder this happened. And more, they get these emotional followers who are not using their brain. It's almost like a mob mentality. You know, a mob can do terrible, terrible things, but you get one person by themselves away from the mob mentality and just give them time to think, and they'll start to get their brain back. But the scary thing is cults, communism, the Third Reich, the Jehovah's Witness cult, they all do the same thing. Hearts and flowers, butterflies and rainbows, but you must obey us. You must believe what we tell you to believe. You must support us. You must not question us. You must obey us. You must remain absolutely loyal. And the first person to get disfellowship is not a pedophile, not a rapist, not a drunk, not a man who beats his wife, not a brother who rapes somebody else's wife. The first person to get disfellowshipped in the organization is someone who openly asks questions. I got a comment today on a video that said, my wife and I are getting disfellowship Tuesday. So a few days from now, I tried to encourage them, but it's a terrible thing to have to face. You grow up in this organization, you believe in it, you serve it, you're loyal to it, you obey it, you believe in it, you promote it, you recruit for it, and you have all these wonderful friends and family members. But then one day you start to question, you become a PIMQ, physically in, but mentally you're questioning. And sometimes those questions demand answers. Some PIMQs, you know, they just want to swallow it or just forget it. They don't want to get upset. Okay, my daughter's calling me. I'm wondering if someone can take over. My daughter's calling me. I need someone else.
We're right here, Anne-Marie. Go ahead. Take care of what you have to do. My goodness. Well, anyways, Rick Farron here at the control panel. Yes.
Hi, this is Stefan. How are you doing this evening?
I'm cranking away at it, Stefan. Thank you.
All right. I just two things popped into my mind on Anne-Marie's topic. One is what we call the Gestapo-like technique that polices this organization.
I can't just hang up and close
we would always be told, if you see a brother or a sister doing something you shouldn't, they shouldn't be doing, come and tell the elders right away. And how many times have we all been pulled over to the side by some elder talking about a brother or a sister told them that they saw you coming here and going there or doing this or doing that. So it's that same Gestapo-like technique. They'll use witnesses in your house. Maybe you had them over for dinner, and then they'll go to the elders and say, "Oh, I saw something at this brother's house or this sister's house." Next thing you know, they're putting you to the side after a meeting to talk about what some brother saw and some sister saw and all the rest of that. So it's that Gestapo-like technique, even to the point where maybe if you were starting to question this organization, your first thought might be, well, I'm going to read this information. I'm going to listen to this video, but I can't do it where anybody can see me, even family members, even a spouse. Why? Because they're going to go and report what they saw to the elders, and now I've got to deal with some kind of a meeting with these elders. So that's one way that they remind me so much of the communism and the Nazis and all the rest of that Gestapo-like police technique. And that's really something that goes into the second point, which is the blind obedience you have to have in this organization. They're an organization that says that they represent God and God's high moral standards, but then you are fully expected to do anything that they tell you to do. That could be lying, that could be stealing. I mean, you think about this COVID vaccination, everybody was forced to get the COVID vaccination. Watchtower could say that they didn't force people, they just strongly encourage. No, you were forced because of the Gestapo-like technique. We've heard cases, and I think it was right here on 6 screens. What was the case where the witnesses pretty much had to? That was the case with the lawsuits for the pedophilia, and I forgot what state it was. But the judge had said that they were going to subpoena elders from all these congregations for these records on pedophilia, and she specifically said, do not destroy the records. And we heard right here on 6 screens that the elders were destroying the records. So they put obedience, the blind obedience to this organization, even above the law. So that's another way that you see these communist techniques deployed in the Watchtower organization. It's really a terrible organization. They really have pulled the wool over people's eyes, thinking that they're just this little quirky organization that knocks on your door. No, this is an organization that is really defiant. To me, they're demonic. They employ every kind of technique that's ever been invented to keep these people online and doing their business. So those are just 2 ways that they replicate what went on there in communism and then Nazi Germany.
Well, thank you.
Hello?
Go ahead. Who's this?
I'm sorry. This is Hitley again. You can finish, Rick. I just want to piggyback on what Stefan said.
Well, no, go ahead. Go ahead. And I'd like to hear what you have to say.
Yeah,
Go ahead. Yep.
Because I didn't want you to lose your thought.
Thank you.
That was excellent, what you said, Stefan, and because there have been witnesses that go into different ones' houses, and this has happened to me many decades ago, where some of them will sneak in and say, I want to just use your bathroom, and they'll just go into the bathroom and act like they go in the bathroom. They'll look through what you have in the bathroom, and one sister even went into my cousin, was living with us, her bedroom, and she was going to go into the other bedrooms to look into the drawers to see, and snitch and sneak and see what was in the dresser drawers, what was in your bookcases, what was, if you had any certain, at the time they had the VHS tapes, what kind of VHS tapes you had, what type of, long playing LP albums you had and everything. And then, try to snitch, over to those elders about that. And then also some of them have even went to the point where some of them will act like they're befriending you. And come to find out, they were like, it was like, oh, keep your friends close, but your enemies closer. And they would snitch to the elders and even the COs and the DOs about what was going on with different witnesses. They were like operatives for the organization in the worst way. And then also about without question, some of them will say that, well, I'm going to do what the organization, mainly what the GB tells me without question. They tell me to jump off a roof or jump off a mountain or jump off a bridge. I'll do that without question because they're Christ brothers. So, just to piggyback on what he said, I agree fully. This organization is something else. And I hope that the tower comes down on them. That's all I have to say. Thanks.
Well,
Great comment, Kingley.
great comment. Yeah.
Hi, who's this?
Annie, it's Constance calling again.
Hi.
And I was going to say, I'm loving everybody's comments, and some of the stuff you can't even believe it. It's just so insane and so invasive. But two comments I wanted to make with what Stephan said. It's very interesting, how they will lie. Because I'm sure there's JWs listening in tonight thinking, oh, there's no way they ever lie. Well, I'd like to just bring to their attention that, Philip Brumley, he's the top attorney for Watchtower. And of course, you're supposed to be an example to all your brothers and sisters, right? Anyway, he lied in the court of law and he was fined for $154,000. That's how much of a Christian he was. So, when Stephan talks about that they will even lie, this is in court, which is a quite serious thing, and I'm sure it was a strike on Brumley's under oath. It's a strike on his legal record. So anyway, $154,000 is no small change. The other thing I'd like to say, how they snitch on you, is I remember with my own personal experience, I've never shared this on Sixth Screen, but what Hitley said just made me think of it. I remember when I was so sick and tired of being told you can't go to college, and I really wanted to go to college. So I was with a regular Pioneer, and I had my car and we're out in service and so forth. And I was at the point that I just didn't care, anymore. And so I said to T, well, I'm really interested in going to college. And of course she was, deadpan, didn't say anything and just completely silent. And we finished making our return visits and everything. Well, next thing I know, it's the Thursday Theocratic Ministry School. And at the end of the school, at the end of the meeting, Brother Krause pulls me over. I wasn't, not in the back, but just like in front of the literature counter. And he said, oh, I understand, that you're interested in going to college. And I said, well, where'd you hear this from? Oh, I don't know. So there's a lie right there. Yeah, he knew exactly who he heard it from, but he wasn't going to reveal to me. So yes, they do lie. There's no doubt. And I'll never forget that. Later, I found out who snitched on me. I mean, Anne-Marie, you'd think I was a criminal. I had robbed a bank or something. I had done something criminal. All I wanted to do was to go to college, and I'm being snitched on. I mean, that's why there's so much paranoia in this organization, and people are so mentally ill because everybody's over their shoulder, even from their own members. So that's all I just wanted to say. Oh, hold on.
Emery, just a further thought on what Connie was Philip Bromley.
Okay.
Philip Bromley, the number one, the Watchtower, he was a former Bethelite. They sent him to college, right? The donations to the Philip Bromley to law school. Yeah. Anyway, so what happened is the court caught him lying. So they put sanctions on him for over $100,000. It's known throughout the whole JW world that he lied under oath. But did he get this fellowship for lying under oath? Oh, heck no. That's their crazy theocratic warfare that they try to tell people it's okay to lie as long as the Watchtower benefits. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it was Garrett Loach, or one of the governing body or of the organization, said that the truth is only for those who deserve to know the truth. And for Constance, it's amazing how quickly gossip follows and how quickly a Watchtower is to snitch, quote unquote, on somebody, and she didn't do anything wrong. What was that?
You know what, Marie? Also, this is Donald, by the way. They take away your free will. I mean, where the organization does free will fit in? Because you can't do anything without them snitching on you. Like that lady saying earlier about going into your bathroom and snooping around and stuff. Now that's a new one on me. I never heard anybody do that, but I'm sure they do. I mean, that's just what witnesses are trained to do. The organization trains them. And also, I laugh every time they use the phrase, your Bible-trained conscience. Now, they really should say your Watchtower-trained conscience, not Bible-trained, because the Bible doesn't teach half of the crap that they teach.
Anne Marie. Anne Marie?
Yeah, who's this?
This is Susan. Hi, honey. How are you? I just wanted to.
I'm good. Who's this?
This is Susan. Can you hear me?
Oh, my love, I can hardly hear you.
Oh,
How are you, my dear?
I'm doing fine. I wanted to mention before the people, it gets too far, but they use, instead of saying the term lying, which it really is, they call it theocratic war strategy. They make it sound real special, and they make it sound like it's not evil. They make it sound like you're really doing something for God's organization when you don't tell the truth.
Right.
Now, if you're a Christian, you have to follow Christ. I never heard Jesus lie once, not even intimate something wrong. So why would we
Not
do
even
that?
to the devil.
No, right. When it would have been to his benefit, and he could have if he wanted to, but he didn't. So who should we follow? Should we follow Jesus Christ, our mediator, or should we follow the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society? They don't call a lie. They call it theocratic war strategy.
Yeah, they give it a good sounding, logical name that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Thank you, Susan. Who's this?
This is Steph again. I just wanted to piggyback on our dear Susan's comment. I don't even call Jehovah's Witnesses anymore. I call them Watchtower Witnesses, because that's what they follow. Watchtower. They don't follow Jehovah or Christ. I don't believe in either one of them, but they don't. That's not who they follow. No matter what Watchtower tells them to do, just like we talked about before, if they tell them to lie, if they tell them to steal, if they tell them to break the law, ignore the law, whatever the case is, that's what they go and do. You won't find any of that kind of behavior in the Bible or order in the Bible. But Watchtower, when they tell them to do it, they'll go out and do it. But there's two things I was thinking about at Bethel that come under the heading of information control. So again, going back to Gestapo-like techniques. So we learned on 6 Screens, channels like Lady C, JT and the Lady C channel, that at Bethel, they would go through your snail mail. Now, snail mail is just regular, ordinary mail. Now, of course, the majority of that these days is replaced with email, but back in those days, they would review your mail. So if a letter came to you and you were a full-time Bethel, they would open that and they would read that, and if there was something in there that they thought shouldn't be there, whatever that means, they'd come and pull you to the side. Why are you corresponding about this and that and the other? And that's the level of control that they exercise. And then, of course, I don't know what the housekeepers, the maids, whatever they're called, they had the right, even the command, actually, to go through your things and bring to their attention if they saw some kind of music or books, literature, magazines, a T-shirt or something that said something that somehow went against God's law, and the next thing you know, you're pulled over. It's come to our attention that you have, a Parliament Funkadelic album. That's not tolerated at Bethel. You got to make a change or we'll kick you out. And then the last thing was the information control that they have at Bethel. I learned from the JT channel that they have information restricted at Bethel. So if you go to your room and you get on, I guess, the Bethel internet and you try to search on certain topics, extra witness topics or apostate topics or whatever the case, those searches are going to be denied, and that's going to be reported up to whomever, and you're going to get a knock on the door, and you're going to be pulled into a meeting so that they can ascertain why it is that you're researching this kind of material. I mean, it's no different than some of these communist countries that restrict people's access to information. That's being practiced, to my understanding, all the way up to right now in Watchtower. So again, this is a really diabolical organization, and they employ the same information control techniques that the Nazis did back in the old days.
They sure did. And when you mentioned going through people's personal mail and going through your room, that's what they do in prison.
That's exactly right. Watchtower is a type of prison, that's for sure.
Great comment, Stephen. Stephen, right?
Right.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that, Stephen. Would anybody else like to comment? Again, if you're a new caller and feel like chiming in, just say, hey, I'm a new caller. I'd like to comment, ask a question. Feel free. This is a safe place. Anyone like to chime in or comment?
You should talk about your fireplace.
Okay, Rick, I'm wondering if you might be able to take over the show. Things are getting kind of hairy over here.
Of course,
So,
Marie.
I'm wondering if I can just...
You go ahead and take
Yeah.
whatever you have to do. Do it right now. Go ahead, Marie. Don't worry. We'll take it over from here. Thank you very much, and just don't worry about it. You'll be okay. We'll see you tomorrow if all goes well.
Thank you. In the meantime, I would like to thank Donald from Texas for calling in, and Joe from South Carolina, and Dick from South Carolina, also Constance, Dallas, and you, Rick, and Stephen, and Constance, of course. Sister who called in turned out to be Hidley. Haven't heard from her in a while. And the great comments again from Gilbert. Thank you all so much for letting me get out early. I'm sorry for interrupting the show. Rick, thank you very, very much. This is kind of a hard day.
All right.
Thank you.
We wish all goes well. We wish all goes well for you, Anne Marie. Thank you.
Thank you. God bless you all.
All
Bye-bye.
right. Well, there's Anne Marie, and hopefully, her mother-in-law is sick, very, very sick, maybe even dying. So Anne Marie certainly is a trooper and wanted to come on and be with the audience. But we wish Anne Marie the best, her family, and of course those close to mother-in-law, and we pray you'll be with her as well, obviously. Well, thank you for coming in and wanting to be with us tonight. Rick Farron here at the Six Screens. We got JW World News. That'll be coming up shortly, but we'll continue this for a little bit. We certainly appreciate those that have been calling in. Now, we've been talking here tonight about communism and the Watchtower. We had Gilbert, we had Stephen, we had Donald come in. So anyone else have any thoughts on that? Go ahead, you're on with us. If someone's on there, go ahead, speak up. Heard someone?
Right.
Yes, Dick.
We can see what's happening in New York. We have a communist mayor in there, and he's going to run that city right into the ground. When you're dealing with Nazism, communism, fascism, it's all pretty much the same thing. Just they fuse selected to rule everybody, and they always do it to the rank and file's detriment. Well, they get filthy rich and practice all kind of weird sexual stuff. So that's kind of like, I'm kind of summing up in Ray's program. And I thought the audience might be interested to know about how many hours you put into Six Screens as being at the helm of it. I know there's lots of hours, a lot of work, and a lot of your money goes into it. And I think it'd be interesting if the audience realized just how hard you work to get this information out. If you're willing to do that, I thought the audience might really enjoy hearing that. because I know you never blow your own horn, so I'd like to, I'd just like to do that a little bit and see if, you'd be willing to just let people know how many hours you put in, how many phone calls you take into your family life.
All right. Well, I'll go into a little bit. First of all, I'd like to say that one of the reasons why the Six Screens has connected with as many people as it has is because of the persistence that we have had. Not only myself, but my wife here who supports me as well in this endeavor, but all you callers as well. And we've been doing it, like I say, and you guys know it. I'm just going to mute some people here. We've been doing it for 20 years. And I must say that we've never missed a Saturday night. Now, the reason why this program is important, it's like a large therapy session. Now, none of us really here are therapists. We have had a therapist on here in the past, but I'm just gonna mute this if you don't mind, Dick. I'm gonna mute your call right here because it's interfering with the call. All right. So, anyways, what it is persistence. When you're doing something long enough and you're on the track long enough, you're gonna gain some people who follow you. So we appreciate that. We get a lot of people that do listen every Saturday night. So being persistent is very good. We never miss a Saturday night, and we're here because you are here. But it does take time. It does take effort. But I'm having fun. And as long as I have fun, I don't mind doing anything. And the same thing with you folks, right? When you're having fun, you go to a theme park, you go to a museum, you go to a movie, and you're having fun. You want to keep having fun. Well, I'm having fun. And I'm finding that not only is our call helping people, but now it's starting to cross over. Some of our programs are starting to help people in other cults. So I'm finding that kind of fascinating. And, people listening into the Six Screens, they might be Christian Scientists, they might be Scientologists, they might be Mormons, but now we're seeing this crossover a little bit. So that's kind of exciting as well. But what I've noticed here at Six Screens is, it's hard to do it on the wing. Sometimes you have to. But if I try to prepare every Saturday, I start preparing during the week. And I want to thank all those people that send me in news articles. I get a lot of people that send articles in all the time. And I think it's really, really neat that they do that. And I want to thank all the people. I get probably 100 emails a week on people that send me news. They say, Rick, talk about this, talk about that. So what I try to do is I try to sort everything out. I try to bring us the news that could really connect with people. And not only that, I try to bring news articles to the forefront that you folks can connect on. If I bring an article, it's really hard to, if I start talking about the weeks of days in Daniel, I start losing an audience. So I got to kind of keep it. Well, what I find is certain topics that everyone on the Six Screens loves to talk about. And of course, they love to hear the Watchtower in free fall and why it's in free fall. And why wouldn't we? We are, witnessing an organization that has hurt so many people that it's a pleasure. It's just like having justice given to us. If you had something really badly done to you, maybe someone murdered your best friend, and you would like to see justice come, and that person should be locked up in prison, the keys thrown away. Well, that's how we feel here at the Six Screens. We want justice. The Watchtower has hurt so many people that we have to see justice come. And these creeps and goons who run the Watchtower, they've got to be brought in handcuffs to prison. Now, whether that will ever happen or not, I don't know. But, we are starting to get some points on the scoreboard. The apostates are really doing a great job, not just here at the Six Screens, but, you got plenty of apostates out there. You've got Lady C and her husband. You've got Mike and Kimmy. You got John Cedars. You got John Ledger. You got a lot of people that are exposing it. And you know what? we're winning the race. We're winning the race. The Watchtower is losing the internet. We're the ones that are grabbing it. And we've, in fact, we'll talk a little bit more about this on JW World News tonight. But the time that I put in, well, I kind of like it. It sharpens me up on the Watchtower. I have to kind of be aware of what's going on. I try to get the facts as factual as I can. Sometimes I deal with information that's kind of foggy because it's hard sometimes to get all the facts. But if I don't have the facts, I'll tell you, don't take it to the bank and cash it. So it's been fun. And, in 20 years of doing this program, we've had just about every apostate that you can possibly think of on our program. Now, look at the only one that I can think of, and it would have been so great to have him on, would be Ray Franz, the author of the book Crisis of Conscience, a governing body member. We tried, and years ago, 15 years ago, we did a program called Dialogue with a man by the name of Richard Rowie. And Richard knew Raymond Franz. I didn't know him, but Richard knew him, and Richard was making every effort he could to bring Ray Franz on. And I'll tell you what, we came so close. That would have been an epic broadcast, and we came so close to getting Ray on. As a matter of fact, we were planning on him coming on, and he kind of like got a little frightened near the end. See, what he was afraid of, folks, I'll spill the beans here. Ray Franz, he wrote a lot of information. If you have the aid book, remember that light robin egg blue book we had called the aid book? You all remember that, right? Well, there was a lot of stuff in there that was really, well, Watchtower oriented and information that would fit their agenda. It really wasn't, a lot of it wasn't true. But in there, Ray Franz actually wrote an article on lying. And he didn't like the article, from what I understand. I believe you'll even find that in Crisis of Conscience, that it kind of bothered him. He kind of worked with this war strategy that Susan just brought up a little while ago on Anne Marie's show, on how the Watchtower can lie if it's to further Jehovah's kingdom. And if it's in the best interest of Jehovah and the best interest of the organization, they can lie. So Ray kind of felt a little funny about that, from what I can remember. And another thing, well, you guys remember back in the early 80s, specifically 1983. And of course, the Watchtower, they came out with the most bizarre thing they could possibly ever do. And they gave the right to the elders to actually question married couples on how they behave intimately in the bedroom. You guys don't remember that. We called, in fact, we coined it here on the 6 Greens, and later it was picked up as the bedroom laws. And the Watchtower, they were actually, bringing couples in. Well, what do you do? How do you do it? I mean, can you imagine? I would be so embarrassed if I ever had to do that. And I had an elder friend, and he was involved with actually counseling couples on what they would do in intimate relations. It's nobody's business but the husband and the wife. It's the governing body position to take. It's not the elders, but they were so eager to, get into everybody's business. And I'll tell you what, this elder that I knew, he almost broke out crying. In fact, he had tears come to his eyes when he told me that he had to counsel some couples. And there's a few couples he counseled that actually got divorced because of the Watchtower. Now that's just him. If he had a few couples get divorced, how many couples got divorced because of listening to the stupidity of the Watchtower? So, anyways, Ray Franz had something to do with those bedroom laws. Oh, he didn't like that. They had him work on that, and he kind of was refining it. Now that's a tough subject. Now, can you imagine? Put yourself in Ray Franz's shoes. So the powers to be at the Watchtower, they come to you and they say, "Okay, Brother Franz, I want you to write the rules here on what you can do and what you can't do in the bedroom." I mean, where would you start? Can you imagine the pressure? Can you imagine? I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole. But I mean, Ray Franz had to kind of, go through this and maneuver the situation so it, at least to the witnesses, it sounds sane and sensible. But I mean, it was a tough job for him. So now what happened? Oh, he's going to come on the program. But from what I was told, and whether it's the absolute fact or not, one of the reasons he came on is because of our open forum. See, what we do here at the Six Screens is something that not everybody does. And we have people call in from all over the world, and we don't screen callers. Sometimes we get drunken Bethelites calling in. Sometimes we get real idiots calling in. And so we don't screen the calls. So he was afraid that someone would come on and maybe be like a couple that was divorced because of him working on these bedroom laws. So he got very skittish about that. And you can imagine, I would be too. I would be too. So I understand that. And then Ray, he died. And I think everybody knows how he died. It wasn't too long after that he was going to come on and didn't, but he died. In fact, he was out walking his dog. And he was walking home and he's coming up to his house and he fell. It was like a cement sidewalk. And he fell on the sidewalk and he hit his head, according to what Richard Rowie told me. He hit his head on a rock and he died. So then Cynthia, well, that was Ray Fran's wife. Well, she was going to come on too. Yeah. In fact, Richard Rowie knew her really well. And she was even going to come on. But see what happens, friends. The open forum that we have the Six Screens, it can create an issue. There's a lot of YouTubers that wouldn't touch this with a 10-foot pole because they just don't know who's going to call in. But that's part of the excitement of the Six Screens, right? You never know who's going to call in. Maybe some night we'll even get a governing body member to call in. Who knows? But that's part of the mystique because it's wide open. Anyone can call in, and we get people calling in literally from all over the world. So, it's really good, really, really good. Let me see. Okay, I just want to make sure. I guess the sound is working. Yeah, I guess it is. I'm not sure what they're writing here, but the sound is working. So anyways, we're different. Not everyone would do this because you never know who's going to call in, and it can be very disruptive at times. But we love to hear the people tell their stories here on the Six Screens. When people speak up and tell us what took place with their trek in the Watchtower, everyone is sitting on the edge of their seat because we can all relate. See, all of us, if you want to talk about a united brotherhood, if you want to talk about people that are connected, we are here at the Six Screens. We all experience the same thing. All right. I mean, what else would you like to know? I'll be glad to tell you. If anyone has questions, ask me, and I'll be glad to share them with you. But I'm glad to see the people that do come in. Go ahead, Dick. You back on with us?
Yeah, Rick, I wanted to kind of share an experience on the lighter side. It kind of ties in with Stefan and also what you talked about with the bedroom laws. In the late 90s, there was a sister and brother. He was at work, and a bunch of the servants and some of the men were helping her pack because they were moving to another house. And I'll never forget, we were working on the water bed. They had a water bed, believe it or not. It was in the 90s. And when we were taking it apart, we had drained the water bed, we were taking it apart, and when we pulled one of the panels off, we found it's not a children's toy, I'll just put it that way. It was a toy, and we'll just leave it at that. Well, I was a servant at the time. I was not an elder, I was a ministerial servant. And I kind of just left the room discreetly, along with another brother. But there were several other people in there. And so we kind of left the room to give the poor sister some time to gather the toy or whatever. And But here's what's interesting. I thought that you just let it go. Now, I'm only going to say allegedly because I remember the next meeting, he was in the back. The back room had glass. So anybody that got pulled to the back school, you could actually see who's back there. It wasn't like they make the Kingdom Halls today. The back halls were glass. And I actually saw her and two elders visiting, and she was highly upset. Now, I'm going to say allegedly they were talking to her about this, but this kind of goes along with the bedroom laws. And of course, they modified that a while back. But Stefan made the comment how, the Gestapo, they had that training where they would turn in their fellow German people if they were hiding a Jew or whatever. Well, look what happened here. And again, this is allegedly they were talking to her about that. But I just wanted to share that experience, Rick. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Joe. Thank you very much for that. Now, yeah, in fact, I found it fascinating, that bedroom law thing. There was so many problems caused because of that. Witnesses getting divorced, and then even the witnesses could see through the foolishness of it. They were really, even husbands and wives were saying, well, honey, that's none of their business. And it wasn't. Really, what gives any other person the right, clergyman or whoever, the right to question you on how you make love to your wife or vice versa? But anyways, just to cut to the chase here, they had so many problems caused because of that what they did is they retracted it. Now, you're never going to see the Watchtower come out and say, we made a mistake, we're sorry. Did you ever hear that?
No.
Did you ever hear that? Did you ever read that in Watchtower? We made a mistake, we're sorry. A reputable company, a reputable person, if they really messed up and did something foolish, they would apologize. That's what people do. That's what honest to goodness people do in the world we live in. No, they would never apologize. So actually, they didn't know what to do, but they wanted to step away from that idea of what you can do and what you can't do because it's causing too many problems. So you know what they did? In a small little footnote in the Watchtower magazine, in fact, forgive me, it might have even been the Awake, but it was a small little footnote that said that adjustments have been made and we're now taking a different stance on the position we have taken on what you can do and you can't do in the privacy of your own bedroom. So but it was, nobody even saw it. But it's always been a controversial subject. But this is the reason, friends. You're asking why do we do the 6 screens every Saturday night? Why are you people so loyal and all you really fine people that call in? Why do you like coming in here? It's because we're like one big family. We all have shared the same experiences. Now listen, there's many people that they leave the Watchtower and they run out and they go to a therapist. And I'm not in any way demeaning the therapist, but I'm saying that if you go to a therapist that has no idea of mind control behavior, cult behavior, you're just throwing your money away. I tell you what, a lot of people come out of the Watchtower. They come out pretty much unscathed. They're not hurt too badly, but some are. There are some people that, they are damaged. They are, well, we have people listening in here tonight. There's certain little triggers that trigger people and they get this PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. But that's only one thing. That's only one mental issue. And our heart goes out to anybody that has that. And it can be really difficult to deal with. Other people suffer from other psychotic and neurotic diseases, mentally diseases. One has to do with just feeling suicidal. You're feeling suicidal because if you got shunned, you did something wrong. It can create terrible anxiety. So there's a lot of issues people have to deal with. Did someone want to come on? I heard someone. Go ahead. You're on with us. All right. Is that okay? I don't want to mention any names here, but if someone wants to come on, fine. But we got the news coming up. Go ahead. You're on with us.
I have something to say.
Sure. Go ahead, sir. Who's that?
This is Tom.
All right. All right. Go ahead, Tom.
I remember years ago.
Hold, Tom, hold on 1 second. Hold on. Sister, if you could just hold on for a second, we'll bring you on after Tom. Go ahead, Tom.
I'm sorry.
Oh, it's not your
It
fault.
was in the 90s. I remember, so me and my wife was my ex-wife actually now, but she was a pioneer, and she was on birth control, and our understanding was that we would wait and have children in the new system. So I was scheduled to have a hysterectomy. And then all of a sudden, a Watchtower article came out saying that if you have a hysterectomy, it may not be correctable in the new system, and you may never be able to have children. So, therefore, we were able to just in time cancel that hysterectomy, and then in the future have 2 children that we love. But that's how controlling that organization was, that we were under the influence that if we even had children in this old world, that was wrong. So we wanted to wait until the new system. But then they finally said, hey, if you don't have them in this old world, you may not be able to have them in. And that's the control that they had.
Well, Tom, that's a very interesting story. I never heard that, but I did hear about vasectomies. For male. I watched.
Yeah, that's what vasectomy, yeah.
Not a hysterectomy, right? Yeah, vasectomy. Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing. I mean, but you can see the pressure that put on you. Geez, you don't know. I mean, these guys, they would mess up a family so badly, they wouldn't know which way it was coming or going. It just, how can you even be a normal person being a loyal Jehovah's Witness? My goodness gracious, it'd be terrible, terrible.
And another thing too, Tom, is that
So much control they had.
right. Well,
You were talking about, the control they have in the bedroom, and that actually, similar,
Yeah, well, thank you, Tom. Susan, you sit here. Susan.
okay, I'm going to take over for just a second here, Tom.
Okay,
Hi, go ahead, Tom.
speaking to the mic.
I'm
Okay.
done, thank you.
Hi, Susan.
Hi, how are you?
Very good. This is Brother Norman.
Hi, Brother Norman. It's nice to have you with us. What do we owe
It's nice
you?
to be
Yeah, what boy?
I was
Go right ahead.
yeah, I was listening to Rick, and Rick was telling everybody about how much fun he's having, and we can see all the fun that he's having. I just wanted to let you and him know, and everyone, that I had some fun this morning. I was just doing things around the house, and my doorbell rang,
Oh, dear.
and guess who it was?
Was it Jehovah's Witnesses?
It was 2 nice nice ladies. One was probably in her mid-60s. The other one was an Asian woman. She was probably late 20s, early 30s. And the topic for today was happiness.
Oh,
And
wow.
so she started talking about happiness, and she asked if I wanted to watch a short little video clip.
You're
And I said,
kidding.
okay.
I've never heard of that
Yeah.
before.
So, yeah, this was for the convention. The convention is coming up on July 10th, 11th, and 12th.
Okay.
And so that's what they were promoting. So she had her phone with her. It wasn't an iPad, it was a phone. And so she wanted to show me a video. I said, okay. And so she pulled it up on her phone and she started showing it to me. Now, I think that I'm the very first person she ever showed it to, because the woman who was with her said, why don't you turn it the other way so he can see it better? So that shows that, she's not showing this to too many people. So she doesn't even know how to work her phone. So I politely watched the video, and she started talking, and I was playing Mickey the Dunce a little bit. I said, oh, you're Jehovah's Witnesses. And so they said, yes. I said, I said, my brother-in-law is a Jehovah's Witness. I said, he won't speak to me anymore. Oh, really? I said, yeah, he doesn't want to speak to me because I know too much about the Watchtower. And I started to proceed to ask him some questions. And I said, I like to ask him about 1914. I said, do you know that for the first 50 years of the Watchtower, they taught that Jesus came in 1874? And they said, no, we don't teach that. The older ones were saying that. We never taught that. I said, yes, you did. And I've got all the books. I said, I've got more books than most Kingdom Halls have. Did you ever hear of the studies in the scriptures? Well, yeah, it's in there. She fumbled and she stumbled. She talked about the light getting brighter. And I said, no. I said, Charles Taze Russell said that you don't light one gas jet and blow it out to light another. And the Watchtower is vacillating. It's going back and forth and back and forth. They don't know what they're teaching. And all this time, the young Asian woman is listening to all this.
Wow.
And I asked her, I said, are you interested in the truth? And of course, she's, of course, yes. I said, well, if you're interested in the truth, why don't you study with me? I've got a lot of things I can show you, all right? And we will look at the truth. No, she said. And I said, aha. I said, you say no because you're not interested in the truth. All they're concerned about is their version of the truth. And I like to make an analogy where, let's say you're driving down the road and someone's coming up the other way and they cross the yellow line and they hit your car. So you pull over, you call the police come over, and they ask the gentleman who hit your car, what happened? So he tells his story. So the cop walks back to the other person and says, oh, I'm giving you a citation. And the other person says, no, he hit me. And the cop says, no, I don't want to hear it. And the person said, well, I've got video evidence. I've got a dash cam. The cop says, no, I will not hear it. He's saying the truth. That to me is what happens with Jehovah's Witnesses, where they only have one side of the truth, one little sliver of what they want to believe, and they will not look at the real evidence. So they also had given me a pamphlet called Eternal Happiness, the 2026 Convention of Jehovah's Witnesses, and it's got the dates of July 10th, 11th, and 12th at the Songa Center in Lowell, Massachusetts. And so when she found out all this, she says, well, I guess I can take that brochure back. And I said,
What?
no.
What?
It is my invitation, because right in the front it says, you are invited to attend. So she wanted her brochure back, and I said, no. So I said, if you want to study the truth with me, please, let's study the truth. And she started walking away. And she was walking to the car with the other ladies were waiting. But the Asian girl, she waited. She didn't go side by side with the older woman. She walked a little bit. She walked down my steps and over to my mailbox. In the meantime, the other one was halfway down the street. And I'm saying, if you want the truth, you come to me. Come to me. And I pointed at the Asian one. I says, if you want the truth, you come to me. And I'll show you the truth. And she stared at me for a few seconds. And then she left. So
Norman,
I don't know.
Keep a surprise to this. Wow. You're the first Bible
I don't
study
know if I
that's
made.
opposite.
Yeah, really. I don't know if they'll ever come back because I've met with Jehovah's Witnesses before, kind of playing Mickey the Dunce a little bit and inviting them back, and they never come back. So I doubt these women will ever come back. But what I was hoping to do was plant a seed in the young woman's mind, because the older woman, she's set in her ways. I doubt we'll ever get to her. But it's the younger woman who she looked like, she was torn a little bit. And I said, come back to me and we'll talk and we'll discuss the truth. And I'm not sure if that's ever, whatever's going to happen, but we'll see. We'll see.
What did your wife think of all this?
She was praying for me in the other room. She heard a little bit about what I said, and she thought I did a great job. Of course, with me, I think, well, I could have said this and I should have said that. And sometimes studying so much, you have so much in your mind that you want to get out, and you only get half of it out, or even a quarter of it out.
I was just going to tell you, I've never heard anything better. I thought it was perfect. Really, truly. I'm not just saying it. I can't believe that you came up with all of that so quickly. That's pretty good.
Well, again, I've been studying the Watchtower for almost 40 years now. And so I know a lot of things that are going on, and I've been reading this for many, many years, so it just comes to me. And so I also talked about the pyramid, how 1914, the date came from the pyramid, and I said 1914 was told that it was not not Jesus's return, but it was that 1914 was originally the end of Armageddon by 1914. And she had no clue what I was saying. She said, that's not true.
That's the older one.
And I hope
the older one said that's
right,
not
the
true?
older one. Oh yeah, the older one said that's not true. And so I told I really wish I had my books on hand, because I didn't want to leave them for a couple minutes to grab my books, because I didn't want them to leave. But I at least got in what I could, and hopefully I made a dent with them. You never know. Maybe the older one will come back. Who knows? But I had a good time with them. They were lots of fun.
Well, I'm glad you consider that fun, Norman. That was really good. You've helped Rick so many times when he's had some of his sessions, where he's protesting. But, that is really amazing that you could come up with it that quickly. And you don't know. It seems that the younger one, maybe she won't come back. She might. I think you planted some seeds. And it's so easy to find information out today on the internet, especially with AI. People can't make the excuse, well, I didn't know, because it's so easy to find out. If it were me and I was a witness standing at the door, I would have checked out what you said. The younger one, if I was the younger one, I think I would have. What do you think, Rick?
Yes, I would have. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that they actually will, or do you think they're going to be too afraid?
Well, I'm thinking, Norman, that you really worked hard on that. I'll get back in the driver's seat here. You really worked hard on that,
so too. Wow.
And I think you did an excellent job. Well, what you have here, see, they're so, I hate to use the word brainwashed, but these people, they only think in one direction. The older one, they evidently identified you right off the bat as an apostate. And you're mentally diseased, Norman. I have to tell you that. I mean, that's so that's what's going through her mind. And well, the younger one, you might get to first base with her. Yeah, you might.
She's going to look
She
stuff up. I think so.
She might start looking stuff up. In fact, on our news tonight, we're going to be talking about that. Oh, we got some serious problems going on the Watchtower with young ones. But excellent job. I really, I mean, yes, Maverick. You want to say hello, Norman? Go ahead.
Hi. Yes, hello. I did want to say, no, there's a really great story, Norman. And interestingly, I had something similar, and I've got news, good news at the end of it, because when I first was in between my PMO, my year and a half of being a PMO, well, actually, I'd left, but I hadn't officially put my letter in. of disassociation, I had two brothers come to my door. One was an elder that didn't know me, and one was he had joined my congregation, and I was assigned to his group. So he thought, well, he's inactive, i.e., I was inactive at the time, according to his opinion. I had already left. I'd made my mind up, and the other brother was a friend of mine. Now, when they turned up, he was trying to encourage me to come back. But guess what? The word I met up with that brother. He now the one who was quiet, who knew me. He didn't understand why I'd left, and he always wanted to know why I'd left. So when it was announced that I had been disassociated, obviously I put my letter in. 10 years later, we met up. I bumped into him randomly on the high street, and he said, don't worry, I've left. Me and my wife have left. And they've got a young family as well, a really lovely family. And he said, I never, ever forget what you said to us that day when we went onto your door. And what I'd said is, I didn't go into too much detail. And he said, so why don't you want to come back to the Kingdom Hall? And I said, well, if you knew what I knew, if you knew what I know, you'd be questioning some of the things that you've held to be a truth. And he said, well, how do you know I don't know? I said, you don't know, because if you did know, you'd be having a coffee with me somewhere now, and we would be having this conversation. But this conversation was like going backwards and forwards like that. He wanted to kind of dig at me to find out what my issues were. But I left it there, and then I saw the chap, a bit like the Norman's experience, was one of them, the sister who was hanging back a bit. I could see on that brother's face, the one who was my friend, why did he leave? So we went literally recently we went for a coffee to catch up, and we had this dialogue again. I said, so what were you thinking that day when you came to my door? He said, I was dying to find out what really was the problem, or why you'd left and what your issues were. And lo and behold, he's now happily left the organization. He's in a different church. He's still had his faith. His family's thriving. He's got 2 young children, and I'm so happy for him. I said, look, he said, now we're really brothers, and he said, yeah. And it's just lovely. So to Norman, you have done a great thing, because you don't know what that can lead to. You never know. It could take 1 year, 2 years, or 10. It could take a decade, but you have planted something there. And somewhere along the line, that sister is going to remember your words in a different scenario, and it's going to suddenly click. It's going to click. So I just thought, I was so happy when you said it. I thought, a very interesting conversation and a story. Sorry. So yeah, Rick, never ever lose heart, because all the work we do here, everyone talking and sharing their experiences, you hosting a live show like this is fantastic, because real people are listening, even if they're quiet, like you always say every week, Rick, don't you? Many, many people are listening, but they don't really share yet actively or come forward and share their experience, but they are listening and they're taking something from it. And it's fantastic. And that's all we can do. So yeah, when you say that, I wonder if it has any impact. It does have an impact. It really does. And so that was a great one that you shared with us. So I just wanted to share my 2 pence, as they say. Oh, Rick, just very quickly, did you know that the World Cup, the World Cup is in your neck of the woods now in America? And I just saw by the corner of my eye, they showed that the ITV is a television station, right? ITV is one of the big TV stations in England. And they are presenting the whole of the World Cup in Watchtower, old Brooklyn headquarters. I said, that building looks familiar. And they're sitting on the balcony, and I saw the great big welcome neon just above their heads. And I went, are you kidding me? They're in Brooklyn Heights. It just was so bizarre seeing the massive welcome neon. And the ITV, they're all maybe oblivious to it. I don't know if they know where they are, but oh my goodness. And I thought, if that balcony was there, they haven't modified the building, have they? Because that's a fantastic view. So if that was the Bethelite, I need a Bethelite who was at Bethel to inform me if that was the view that they saw from the windows. That'd be crazy.
Oh yeah, that was a beautiful. I'll tell you what, that property. That's why they got so much money for it, Maverick. That property is El Primo. That's some of the best property in all of New York. and it overlooks the river. It's beautiful. And yeah, they did renovate the building, and it looks entirely different, really, if you saw it today than years ago. But I did not know the World Cup people. I'm sure many of them were kind of meeting and what have you, but I didn't know that. Yeah, unreal, huh?
Yeah.
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 Hey,
Totally.
Maverick,
Yeah.
thank you for the encouragement. I've spoken to many witnesses over the years, and I've never had any come back. And I tell you, what a thrill you must have had when you heard that your words made a difference. And I've never had anyone ever come back to me, but Lord willing, that may happen. And actually, very quickly, I went to Boston today, and I was on the subway, and a couple of your compatriots were there. They had their English flags on their with the World Cup. And Rick, I kept the invitation brochure that they gave me because I'm thinking about going to the convention this year, and just kind of looking around, maybe taking a few pictures.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, I haven't ruled out entirely. We might even, I might even get the old protest team out again. We'll see what happens. I might show up at the convention, and that's such a nice place to really do a protest because, the venue, they have to come out one way, and there we are. So I might take it up. I'm not sure. We'll see what happens, Norman.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I'm dying to go back because I've seen the decline over the years, and it just keeps getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And the last time I went, there were no baptisms. So we'll see what happens. And this is, Rick, is this for all of New England? Is this the Sanger Center, or is this just for Massachusetts?
Well, I'm not sure how many conventions they're having there this year, but basically it's for all of northern New England, including right here, Massachusetts, but northern New England, but some are going to the McMullen Center out at the University of Massachusetts in Amherst, and I believe some also are going to Maine. But there's probably well, let me put it this way to you: if you take New Hampshire and you split it, in half going north, those people are coming down to the convention. And most people, if you take Massachusetts and you split that in half, from the east to the west, the eastern portion will be going to the Sanger Center. Yep.
Okay, good. You have a great place to put your table. Like you said, there's only one way in and there's only one way out, and they can't leave without passing your signs.
Well, you got it, Norman. Well, you've been a real trooper. You've helped us tremendously, and we've had 15 Kingdom Hall protests, and we've had 4 convention protests, and you've always helped us. And thank you, Norman. We really appreciate. I'll tell you what, when you come on, everything kind of lightens up here a little bit. I mean, as far as the brightness of it all, it gets brighter, so to speak, because people were so eager to. They were so eager to hear what you had to say. You're a good man, Norman. Don't you ever change on us.
And the light keeps getting brighter, Rick.
Oh, you got it. Well, thank you. Well, that's Norman.
Thank you, Maverick.
All right.
Yeah, thank you too.
Well, my goodness gracious, we're going to go to JW World News. That's the news the Watchtower doesn't want us talking about, but we talk about it every Saturday night and every other Sunday right here on the Six Screens Tele Network. Susan's going to be sitting in with me tonight. She's been doing really, really good lately. She wants to be part of this, and she's got some good news to share with you tonight. So by all means, stay with us. We're going to close out this program. This program is called Touched by the Tentacles of the Watchtower. And Anne-Marie was nice enough to come on tonight, even though she had some real issues with her mother-in-law dying, actually, and they were up to be with the mother-in-law, and she still did a program. So we appreciate Anne-Marie doing that, and all the people that called in tonight. Thank you very, very much for coming on and having the courage to speak up on the Six Screens. Stay with us now. We're going to JW World News. Stay on this channel, Facebook, YouTube channel. Stay on our radio telephone network. And we got the news coming up next right here on the Six Screens Tele Network. Thank you.